Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away.
So just this first line, and it immediately evokes so much emotion. And although it's just a handful of beginner guitar chords, somehow it's extremely recognizable. Today we're going over each of the phrases one by one, and we'll see how the progression is supporting the surprisingly interesting melody. We see some beautiful cadences, chord progressions, things everyone, not just guitarists, should know. And of course I'm talking about, what's it called again?
Yesterday.
That was one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Okay, the first phrase, and immediately we hear something very interesting.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away.
Okay, so this little chord sequence is something Paul McCartney uses a lot in many different songs. So after that G chord, the key of the song, sort of, we get to that later, he plays a 2-5-1 progression. So in G major, he just builds a chord on the second note of a scale and the fifth note of a scale. 1, 2, the A, 3, 4, 5, and D. So we get A minor to D7, 5, and to the 1. So A minor, D7, and G. But in the song Yesterday, we're using the 2-5-1 as a vehicle to get to another chord. So the relative key in this case, the E minor. So if you play a 2-5-1 in E minor, a typical one would be F sharp minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished to B7 to E minor. And with vocals it would sound like this.
All my troubles seem so far away.
But instead of the half diminished chord, he plays a minor chord instead. F sharp minor to B7 to E minor, which makes for the vocal melody on top to become surprisingly interesting. Listen to this.
All my troubles seem so far away.
So it's just so melancholic. So beautiful. And what's so interesting about this phrase is that Paul doesn't stick to just the diatonic chords and the scale G major. He alters the C and the D to a C sharp and D sharp, creating a rather spicy melody if we were to play it on top of the G major chord, the key of the song. The chords underneath dictate the melody more or less. So F sharp minor, C sharp is logical, and over that B, the D sharp is logical. And secondly, he uses the E melodic minor scale over that 2-5-1 in E minor. Melodic minor is just minor scale with a raised 6 and a raised 7. Next up, we use the D bass note to transition from E minor to C. And there we have the classic
God looks as though they're here to stay.
C, D7, G. The classic 4-5-1 progression where the 5 is played as a dominant 7th chord. So, and depending on what version you actually listen to, he either plays a C major chord or a C major 7th to D7th. And of course that resolves beautifully to the tonic chord back to 1. We all love that resolution, right? The 5-1. So. On the G chord he creates a bit of tension with his voice actually by playing first a G sus4, which resolves to the B note, from the C to the B, to create a G major chord. Transition note, because from that G we go again to E minor via that transition note. G, and then the bass note goes to F sharp. So no F sharp minor chord, just the bass. And then at the end of the verse something cool happening. It's basically a sort of a turnaround with a chromatically descending line woven into the chord sort of. So we get E minor 7 and listen to that D on top. Then we go to A7 or A major, it depends on the version, and that D goes to C sharp, and then the chord goes to C, so then it goes from D, C sharp, C, and then to G. And that line is also heavily accentuated by the string section that's underneath of this playing. It plays something like this. That's pretty cool, right? So with the vocals.
Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Oh, do you hear that major third, yesterday, that note he sings? He sings it really flat.
Today.
And it actually sounds better that way. The interval of the major third in our Western tuning system is called 12-tone equal temperament. It's always a bit too sharp, really. So if you want to make it sound better, you tune it down a little bit. Try this. Play a G major chord with the B string on top, and then tune it down just a little bit.
Today.
You see? This is what Paul just does automatically. He tunes that A.
Today.
But now you will see the tuner is saying the B is too flat. But in all fairness, now it sounds great with the chord.
Yesterday. Today.
John Frusciante does the same thing, by the way, in the song Scar Tissue, where he lowers the B string to accommodate for the major third. Anyway, it's fun. Let's tune back up. Okay, so before we get to the chorus, I'm sure some of you are just dying to comment, or already did it, that I'm playing it all in the wrong key. And even amongst the Beatles themselves, there's some confusion about the right key. So here in the Anthology 2 version of Yesterday, we hear the following.
It'll be an F for you. Yesterday. I'm in G, but it'll be an F.
So Paul is playing exactly what I'm playing on a guitar, but then his guitar is tuned to D standard. And for this video, to accommodate for all of your guitars, which are probably tuned to E standard just like mine, I've pitched Paul's voice up a whole tone instead of tuning my guitar down a whole tone. I would always recommend playing it with these chord shapes, and if you want to play it along to the song, just tune your guitar to D standard. It's not that difficult. Just tune everything a whole step down and you're there. And also, I'm not gonna lie, I do this to sort of try to avoid any copyright issues I might get for this video, which may lead to demonetization or even the blocking of this video. And because of that, here's a word from my acoustic guitar course. I mean, this is the course I'm getting messaged about daily. People just love going through it. So it all starts with this interactive map where you can navigate yourself between the different venues, from the fingerpicking saloon where we, yes, dive deep into fingerpicking, from swampy fingerstyle blues to the typical John Mayer playing technique. Or you might want to check out the House of Rhythm or the Flat Picker Saloon, where we do a lot of strumming and awesome picking tunes and exercises. And we go over the techniques with these fun lessons, gradually introducing more complex ideas in there, all with downloadable tabs and highly quality detailed instructions showing you everything you need to know to become a great, accomplished acoustic guitarist. Check it all out at acousticadventure.com. Thank you so much for your time. Let's move on. Now it's time for the choruses, where we again not see one, but two 2-5-1s. So right from the bat we start with one we've seen before, F sharp minor.
Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say.
Really pretty. So we play a 2-5-1, F sharp minor, F sharp minor. The voicing does. He does it two ways, by the way. One video I see him playing it with the thumb like this. Another video I see him playing like this. It doesn't really matter. Both are great. To B7, 2-5, and back to 1, E minor. And from that E minor, we immediately have this contrary motion going on, which Paul emphasizes too by playing it on the guitar. So the bass note descends from E to D to C, where the melody ascends from E to F sharp to G, and played together it sounds pretty great. Especially after that 2-5-1, it's classic. And then we have this little transition bass note, the B, so we keep on continuing the descending bass line, E, D, C, and then to A minor. So he plays the melody on top, on the top string, F sharp and E, and then we go to probably the most obvious one in the key of G major, A minor, D7 and G. But listen to what note Paul sings over that A minor.
Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say.
He sings an F sharp, so he actually plays the 6th note, so A minor 6 to D7 to G major. It's really satisfying. So if you play it together, it sounds kind of like this. It's pretty, right? And then we repeat the whole thing again. Now we end the same, but again, A minor, 2 to 5. He has this nice little melody that's not in the original, I think, or the strings played, but he doesn't sing it. But sometimes when he plays it just by himself with the guitar, he sings that. But then a little bit more in tune. Anyway, and that is the pretty song that is Yesterday by the Beatles.
Who?
The Beatles.
The what?
And this song proves that the perfect song can exist with just guitar and vocals. A beautiful song doesn't have to be difficult. The magic is in writing something that flows so beautifully and elegantly as Paul McCartney's Yesterday. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Have a lovely day. Cheers.